Hi, I am Jayme Marie.
And I'm Enasia Mac.
And we are the Comrade.Sisters.
Welcome to our first episode of our podcast.
Thank you for joining us today. All right, so on this podcast, our goal is for you to learn something about us as educators, as Black women, but also just to keep it real and to laugh as we are sisters in this experience at Stanford, but also in life. And in this podcast, we're going to first have our first episode be talking about just essentially who we are and what brings us to this education practice.
All right, I'll take it away from here, Jayme. So my name is Enasia Mac. I'm from Oakland, California. I show up ready in every instance, the Zulu way. Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. But definitely still a type B teacher. I definitely don't mind waking up at 5 a.m. to get them slides ready for class. But then again, I really do love dressing up for work. I feel like dressing up for work is like a way of like showing that I am passionate about the work that I'm doing and that this work is important and that it's worth dressing up for. And the students do notice. What do you think, Jayme?
Yeah, who am I? How do I show up in the classroom as a teacher? So I would consider myself first and foremost a believer, a woman of God, Black woman with Spanish flair, Puerto Rican roots, and definitely an awkward suburban Black girl. I grew up in a suburb, so I have that awkward Black girl vibe going on sometimes. And I show up in the classroom as a supportive big sister, auntie, a true cheerleader. I'm the friend that is going to be ecstatic for you when you go through your ups and downs in life, and I show that same love to my students. And I want my students to always remember how much I love them, but also I carry and demand a certain level of respect that goes both ways. And I would say I do have some biases that I'm trying to overcome within my teacher identity. I would say like overall with teaching in different communities, I've taught in East Oakland, preppy, rich white schools, and possibly New York City in the near future. So I think I've come into the classroom with certain level of biases as a Black woman and thinking about automatically connecting with Black students, but knowing that Black experiences are not a monolith and we all have very intersecting identities within Black identities, and that I've come to a conclusion to know that there's a need everywhere and everyone benefits from having a Black teacher. So I'm not limited to the students I can teach and want to teach. I love Black kids and I love being able to be a role model for Black children, for Latin children, but there's a need everywhere. And I think I come into the classroom with that love for all students too.
I would say that I agree with that personal bias. I would say more of my personal bias leans to, especially because I am in the STEM field, and I know how invisible or the lack thereof a Black woman in the STEM field that specifically like be more attentive towards my Black female students in the classroom. And I've been known to be called a little bit of a favoritism or a person that is biased when it comes to the students that I prefer to give leniency to or interact with. Everyone all the time, but I would say like my favorite students tend to be my Black girls. I definitely love having the classroom be a safe space for them to just like come in and let their hair down, and that's like my primary role as an educator, is because I know through my experience, even though I am from Oakland and my schooling experience was predominantly Black, I still had the experience where I wasn't able to show up in the classroom fully myself as a Black woman, and I want to really give that to my students.
Right, for sure. Yeah, so what does it mean, Enasia, for you to teach for equity specifically, and what are your thoughts on the word equity alone?
That's such a great question, Jayme. I feel like equity is a buzzword right now that everybody's saying. It really just doesn't mean much to me right now because it feels like, oh, equity warrior, equity this, equity justice. But it's like
performative.
It does. It feels extremely performative. And I was just trying to figure out like more along the lines of equity means that people are getting what they need based off of what they require. So it has a lot to do with like not going against the one size fits all approach.
Right.
And also it's like in conjunction with like educational freedom. And educational freedom is something that I think is a birthright. And that I think that similar to equity is that everyone has their own experience, or what their educational freedom is going to look like is unique to them, and that you can't use a one-size-fits-all approach. And right now the education system is just so limited in the way that it is created, to where it's like hard for students of all color in order to get the needs that they really need. What are you thinking, Jayme?
Right. I love that you said education is a birthright. And it really truly feels like it should be that way when you are a person that just believes in the humanity of people and of education. And the more and more that education is monopolized and privatized and put in only in access to certain groups and certain people, I certainly have to sit back and just feel humbled and grateful to be here as a Black woman with, my mom was first generation, to come into this space, to be at Stanford, first generation master's student, just to know that, historically, like, they did not want Black children to read. They did not want Black women to be what they are now. And now Black women are, excelling in every single space. So I just love to see that you say education is a birthright. For me, equity, I totally agree. Buzzword for sure. I don't know what I really feel when it comes to equity. It feels like a numb word and association to me at this point because it's just thrown around so much. But I believe that teaching is an act of resistance in itself if you truly teach for equity, and that you can teach, but if you get comfortable with being comfortable and that you silence your voice in order to sustain a paycheck in a comfortability space, and that you're not actually being radical in teaching in a way that will inform students. And you can do that in any field, STEM, humanities. It doesn't just mean humanities to be radical and forward and provocative and daring and courageous and bold. Really, we've learned that. I know with you being a chemistry teacher, you provide that justice-oriented space in chemistry as well. I feel like if you get comfortable as a teacher and you don't push back, that your students will learn to assimilate their loud and childlike voices to sound comfortable rather than courageous.
I completely agree with that, and I feel like that also bleeds into what I feel like my definition of radical justice is that, in the classroom, being more critical, having a criticality lens when it comes to certain systems and infrastructures that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Like, why is there 2 highways going through Oakland? That is ridiculous. Like, so many of my kids deal with asthma in the classroom and just having to be aware, making sure the air purifiers is on, and closing the windows when it's like a fire nearby, because they're already so sensitive because of the environmental racism that they're enforced to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And that's the thing is that's why I am in this work, is that I want my students to look at the world around them from a scientific lens and understand, like, those small things aren't really that small. Like, right. That impact is really having a lifelong impact on your health. And how can we fix this? How can we change this? As well as, healing any wounds. Because similar to you, I do show up as like a sister, but I definitely have more of like a mother spirit. Mm-hmm. I've been told this by one of my previous supervisors or principals. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was like the best compliment ever. Because as a child, I would be labeled as like mommy, because I thought I was somebody's mom, but but it's done me some good, especially in this field of just like, I can just give them a look, right, or just the way that I speak to them. It definitely plays into my way of just, creating a familial situation within the classroom where the students really are comfortable and they open up vulnerably to me so that I can really take them where I'm trying to get them to go, which is going to require a lot of stretching and growth from them that can be very uncomfortable.
And guarantee, knowing you could give anybody that look and they know to get it together real quickly. So kids or not.
Okay. That's why they call us the step aunties.
That's why they call us the step aunties. Anyway, let's look at thinking about how we could best pull together, serving our students, their families, their communities. What does that look like to you? Like, supporting and committing to our certain to our students and families, serving our communities and families? What does that look like to you? And supporting each other, too, in this work, other educators as well.
I would say leading with joy. I want to be joyful. I love to laugh. I love humor. I had a really great time in the classroom today, not really picking, but definitely engaging with 2 students that were just being entirely immature while we're going through this sex ed curriculum. And I was just like, I made it a game out of it. And I definitely ran out of class time, but I don't care. My CT do, but I don't. Because I felt like I was practicing what I was learning in MAPC and where I was asking probing questions. Like, I was asking them, like, eliciting their responses and follow-up questions aligned to what they were learning. Like, if it would talk about the legal age for consent and helping them comprehend these questions, like, what is the legal age for consent? And then they're like 18. And then I'm like, if a person isn't 18, can they consent? And so, like, helping them think through these questions to get to the right answer. And every time they got the answer right, I give them a ticket. And it was a fun experience. I mean, we were still, like, learning, but also it wasn't so serious. Even though the content we were covering is quite serious. We're talking about, sexual abuse and sexual harassment and sexual assault and all of those things. And so the information is definitely important and necessary to help the students with their identity, learning their boundaries and learning what is healthy and what is not healthy. Right. But still in the same token, I definitely want it to be an enjoyable experience for them. Like, I want my kids to come into my classroom with a smile on their face.
Yeah.
What about you, Jayme?
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, with, like, definitely not adding a level of seriousness to every, like, moment in the classroom, like centering joy. And I think even, like, through even being labeled as an auntie or being considered as a mama, and both of us are, like, eldest daughters, like, oldest sister kind of vibe, and just very maternal in that way. And I feel like allowing joy to be centered in the classroom, but still having that level of respect. And I think one person in my life that models that really well is my supervisor throughout this program at Stanford, Mama Igosa. And when I think about how we can, you talked about supporting your students, and that's really through centering joy. I think one spin I would take on supporting each other and families and communities is really to, like, support yourself, but also to support other educators in the practice and, mentorship and being able to lean on one another. And I think one of the ways that can be done is really just authentically being in community. And I never will forget this one time during this year at Stanford, during winter break, I went to Mama Igosa's house, and I was with her and her daughter, Fola. We had made some fresh pressed juice. She cooked up some Nigerian leftovers, and her daughter and I were just playing in the playroom, sweats on, hair in a bun, just being real with each other and just being authentic in these spaces. Sometimes, like, in the classroom or professional spaces like Stanford, it could be such a, like, structured kind of space. But I feel like education in, like, community, and community also being another buzzword, doesn't necessarily have to be defined by, like, a structured space. And I really love just showing up authentically, just real with one another. And I know for Enasia and I, a lot of our, like, most closest bonding moments together as educators have been within each other's homes, or, like, during a car ride, or debriefing, one of our many, like, days, on a date, or something a kid did in the classroom, just being authentic and real with each other. So I would say to, like, future educators and ways to truly build community and support one another in this practice, because we all get to that point of burnout sometimes, and we just need someone to vent to talk to, is to just really hold each other accountable, but also to be there emotionally in the midst of the grind, and that we can be real and supportive. And sometimes community doesn't always have to look like a 5-point plan or a community town hall or a meeting, a Zoom meeting, a Pilates session. Sometimes it's just like, girl, come over. We about to eat some food and we about to work on this lesson plan. I'll cook. You could work on the lesson plan, and we'll do what we can for each other. I think that's what, bringing community together could look like, because you got to start with you first and your community around you, and supporting up for the families. You need to center what you can do for you and the people closest to you, which is your community
Right.
and your school, your other educators, your other teacher friends, people who are in this work with you. And that's how you can really pour out and give and be able to show up with that joy when you have your cup filled. So, yeah, that's one way Mama Igosa filled up my cup for me, winter break, just inviting me into her home, you know, no makeup, no hair done, you know, just kind of just being authentic to who we are.
Yeah, I mean, everything that you said, I agree with 100%, you know. You know it's tea when them two fingers is touching, because when I think about it, of just like this whole experience when it comes to teaching is that it's familial, it's kinship. It's not just like, oh, let me go into this classroom and do what I need to do, but it's like you're dedicated to your students, especially for me and my philosophy, because like even when I think about the school I'm going to be at next year, like my little sister goes there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would be like betraying my little sister in the classroom if I were to show up not ready,
Mm-hmm.
ill-prepared, not really caring about the success of the students, and I would be doing my little sister wrong as well as just like, you know, doing those students wrong that are in the classroom with me and everything. And just another thing that I want to talk about too, and I want to get your input on it, is like how we can focus on the curriculum and how we are building skill. I know a commitment that I have for me is offering assessment in multiple formats to honor diverse strengths and learning styles. And when I think of that task, I really do get a little bit overwhelmed, especially because no, this isn't my first year of teaching. Oh, Lord. This
We busy. Alarms be going
Okay.
off. People be calling. But you were saying assessments.
Yeah, so this isn't my first year of teaching, but still, like, when I think about assessments, I would say that was something that it was hard for me to really overcome, and I'm just a little overwhelmed thinking about it next year of just going in and trying to create assessments that honor that commitment. How do you feel about assessments?
Man, honestly, like C&I building curriculum, learning how to build curriculum was probably one of like the most challenging parts of me as a teacher, just because like I'm a creative person, right? Like I love photography. I love like, you know, being very theoretical, poetic, artistic. So like having to sit down and structure things was very difficult. I'm also kind of type B with the way I kind of flow through life at times. I could be very type A in other ways, but, you know, we both Capricorns. We could be type A. But, you know, like, I just feel when it comes to curriculum and, like, sitting down and getting the work done and backwards planning, that's where I struggle at times. And I feel like I could do a million jigsaws. I could do a million gallery walks, but, like, I really like creative ways to involve movement in day-to-day activities in the classroom. And I think one way that was really beneficial for me being in this program was working at a project-based school. I think as the type of educator that I am, working at a traditional large high school probably wouldn't work best to my artistic nature. And even with just like the project-based learning school working at, like that really opened up how I see assessments and really overall taking out the limitations of assessments and really taking out some of the punitive measures of assessments, because I do feel like time tests and essays and really like those natural kind of test format kind of assessments are really not my jam for real. So yeah, something I'm still trying to like work towards, and I agree with you, assessments also do, you know, I find myself overwhelmed with them at times, and C&I at times has been frustrating for me. For those who don't know, that's curriculum and instruction class at Stanford in the STEP program. But yeah, we're going to figure it out. And if these kids are going to watch a movie one day or we're going to make up an activity on the spot, that's what the role of teaching is too, is being able to improvise and, you know, work it out. I
love me a good Kahoot and booklet.
You know, Kahoot sometimes. And for the most part, being passionate about what you're teaching and being passionate about students, I feel like goes a lot further than having a perfect lesson at the end of the day.
Right.
You know, like the energy you bring into the classroom, the excitement you have, you know, because you could put a whole lesson together and then, you know, the bell rings or there's a fire drill or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have spent all that time in that lesson. It could have absolutely went nowhere. So, you know, not to completely be ill prepared, but like, you know, that's what I mean. You have to know that you need to improvise as you're going and also be open to being flexible. That's the word, being flexible in the classroom, being able to accommodate and modify things also to the learning needs of your students, but also like not being too like stingent on our own plan and the plan always going one way or another, because one thing I've learned is you may have a plan, but God definitely has another one. So that goes for the classroom too.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to be back in a high school setting. I've been in the middle school setting. I mean, I think that's what also is giving me anxiety a little bit, is just transitioning back into high school. Because for some time I've been at middle school, 6th and 7th, you know, they're my babies and I love them. But I really do appreciate the mentorship opportunities that go beyond the 4 years of high school, and how they do really like ask you later in life for recommendations or advice or check in and let you know like what the things that they've accomplished and everything like that. And, you know, asking for help to navigate HBCUs, because I am an HBCU grad.
Let's go.
Okay, the illustrious Xavier University of Louisiana. And just, you know, helping them with that. And, you know, that financial aid ain't no joke.
Come on.
Okay.
College is expensive, y'all.
Oh, it really is. Do them scholarships, please. That's what I tell my kids. I be like, the worst thing they could tell you is no.
Always.
Okay.
Might as well try.
Mm-hmm. Because it's going to pay off in the end, and then you can collect so much money, you get your little check back, and now you real good. So, you know, all of those things put together, like, I miss that, and I'm excited for that experience. But, I mean, high school, the curriculum is just a lot more demanding and a larger scope, and that's where I think that's where a lot of my hesitancy comes from. But for the most part, I do feel like this program, let's talk a little bit about STEP. I feel like this program, STEP, has definitely prepared us for that reality as much as they could.
Yeah.
I would say my favorite class was DEG, Design Equitable Group Work with Geetha. Oh, man, that was a really great class, because I would see myself, especially in science, I know how important group work is. I would see myself at times assigning group work, and it was terrible. I mean, it would be the same kids doing the writing. It wouldn't go the way I envisioned in my head, but definitely that class has definitely helped me when it came to like thinking about what to do and how to do it when it comes to group work. And my CT has done an amazing job at supporting me in developing that skill. What is one skill that you feel like you had to develop, or what class did you like the most that helped you develop that skill a little bit more in teaching?
Yeah, I definitely want to comment real quick that the Designing Equitable Group Work class, definitely groundbreaking in its own nature. Every teacher education program, teacher curriculum program, I feel like group work completely underrated on like the back end of how to design it and how to formulate and situate it. So that I also really enjoyed that class. I would really say like, I don't know if there was a specific class I really, really just vibe with the most. I would say off the top for me has to be adolescent development with Lindsay and Ira. I really enjoyed that in the fall. Just because I love Lindsay. Lindsay has like the sarcasm and the feistiness and the boldness and the directness that I also resonate with. And I just completely love learning about psychology, sociology, the way it pertains to classroom settings. It really like got my research mind kind of going. So I really loved that. And I feel like on like the practice end, like in the classroom, group work was essential to know. On like kind of like the back end, social emotional, these are some structures developmentally that the students are going through. That fascinated me. So learning about that with, Lindsay and Ira was definitely a highlight for me. And just their teaching dynamic as well. Ira has this like cool, smooth, like, fatherly kind of vibe and will like read to us. And that was very nurturing. And Lindsay would just always keep it real and like have us have a good laugh. And, I really enjoyed those moments as well throughout my time here at STEP.
Yeah, I agree with everything. That was a highlight class of mine as well. And it was just like an aha moment of like, oh, that's what that behavior is? Like, okay. Like, and now I'm like, okay, now I know how to manage it. And now I know, like, not to take anything personal and that the students are just, like, going through things and that I have to be mindful of that and everything. But, yeah, I think that's as much as that I wanted to talk about my teacher education program journey with classes and all. But I would say another layer of this program has been just the relationships that we built with a lot of our classmates, I would say like the strongest relationship is the one me and you share, and I'm truly thankful for it and everything. And I just think of like, this is a PWI, and I wasn't anticipating that it would be such a diverse cohort, and you know, especially so many Black people. Yeah, it was really great experience to come in and see like the many different people that were admitted, and just creating relationships and going to outings and stuff. Like, we've done a lot this year. We definitely took advantage of that. What is that, community fund?
For sure.
Okay, and it's just been a lot of highlights through that experience, reflecting on. What was one of your greatest memories of this year?
Man, I'm really grateful also as well, like, to be a part of a STEP class of 2026 that's had the most Black students it's ever had in this program.
Amen.
And to be part of that experience, to meet you, Enasia, through this experience, a lot of other great Black students, other peers that are POC and not, you know, it's just been a really great cohort to be a part of. And, you know, I would say one of my favorite memories, honestly, well, Juneteenth, of course.
Oh, Juneteenth was a movie.
For sure. Juneteenth was a time. That was like right a week before starting the program.
We tried to replicate it.
We all got together, and that had some really great memories there. But honestly, like, literally just being able to get out of class each day, and like our walks home or our car rides home, or just being like, okay, we about to go, you know, just spontaneously just like go eat dinner together, or, you know, just hang out, just living like 3 minutes walking distance away, or, you know, those little things like that. And, you know, as the future, you know, gets closer towards us and we wrap up towards, you know, graduation, we're going to be possibly coast to coast. So it's going to be a different experience not to be, you know, 3 minutes walking away from you, or to see your location and be like, oh, I'm going to FaceTime you, or I'm just honestly going to show up in front of EVGRB and be like, are you here? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think, yeah, I enjoyed all the moments. I savored all the moments with, you know, with faculty, with you, with all the people here laughing and learning. I feel like I've grown so much throughout this program, and I'm truly grateful generationally just to be here. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. There's just so many great moments, and it is even hard for myself. Like, girl, you was strong for answering that question, because I was thinking about it for myself, and I can't pick one either. Like, I just love the moment where we will go out to eat together, or even when we have our club nights out and stuff. Like, every moment really did matter, and it all came together to orchestrate this huge, humongous vision and picture of just like our experience. And I think that's kind of what led us here to this part in our journey, where we're like, let's sit down and create a podcast. Like, why not? Like, you know, we have something good here, and let's see what we can do with this.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, that basically summarizes STEP Aunties and our experiences in STEP and our reflections as who we are and the educators we are, what we've learned in this, you know, year at Stanford. You know, within the first couple, you know, next episodes, we'll just be talking more realistically, like outside of STEP, who we are, how we come, you know, into the education space, and how we will prepare for the schools we work in the communities we work in, the cities we work in. So we really appreciate those who are listening to this podcast, and those who are here at the beginning of this journey with us, those who have known us before we even, you know, come to know who we are, and those who are always rooting for us. So thank you, Enasia, for this conversation, and lots of love to you and everyone listening.
Thank you, Jayme.